So I wanted to go through briefly Moderna. It's been interesting, kind of a stock. I've followed this probably for the last 4 months. It's been the main COVID play, sort of the leader in the vaccine category. Novax is probably the second running, and then you have Pfizer and Johnson and all these other. It was mentioned today at today's presidential debate. Figured I could just sort of go through it real quick. So Moderna had this real massive run up. You can see on the Bollinger Band on the upper band, really just had this massive run up. What's really interesting about the stock in general is its ability to sell off. So a lot of it, runs off of this virus news and the vaccine news, and it just sort of sells off. And I actually have shorted the stock in pre-market more than any stock I've ever traded. It pretty much 9 times out of 10, if you find a pre-market high, it tends to flush. So if you go back to any pre-market and you find sort of the post-market high, a lot of times you can get within the pre-market a 1 point or 50 cent flush. So one of the things that happened after hours, again referring back to journal news, is there was a published study that the vaccine worked well in elder patients, and of course it always pushes up and then it hits a peak around 74, a little over $74 in this pivot, and then it sort of sells off and then consolidates and then sort of stops. But this news is old news. So what you're going to find is they're always going to pump it up and this thing's always going to sell off. And it happens consistently more than any stock I've ever seen before. But it had a pretty good run up. So it actually came back here at the beginning of the month down, I believe it was as low as $54. And now it's kind of come up and hit this 50-day resistance, and it's sort of been the level. And then today we've consolidated right over it, and now it's turned into support. So the vaccine news, again, we know mRNA is the leader. They have a ton of potential once they start actually selling it and commercializing it. But then you get into this whole argument of how much are they going to actually make? Are people, when they're selling this vaccine, and let's say there's multiple versions of it, it's not really going to be about necessarily profit making as much as it's going to be about trying to save human lives, right? So we can have stocks run up based on the fact that they're leading this sort of vaccine, but how much money can they actually make from something when they're competing to really save people's lives? So the way to trade, again, if you're interested, is to know that these sort of moves tend to sell off. So if you tend to see that Moderna is running up, you always find that it flushes down. It never can sort of hold the move. So I'd be interested to see how this trades tomorrow. So we did close after hours around $74. We'll see if they're going to pump this up a little more before they sell it off. But you'll always find that it sells off after market. Okay, guys, that's all. Thank you.